Hello, my name's Phoebe. Welcome to this website. So the website was, I suppose, born of an interest of mine in the area of miscarriage, which came about after I experienced a miscarriage personally. And I suppose my search for answers was fairly unsatisfactory in terms of what's, available through the medical profession. And I guess my interest in miscarriage has, expanded into interest in the welfare of, our unborn children in general. But for this website, I'm going to mostly focus on miscarriage and have it as a place to share, information that I found particularly helpful and useful on my own kind of road towards healing, I suppose. And yeah, I guess it'll also be a place where I'd like to gather some more information about miscarriage from other people who've experienced it, and I'll talk more about that in another video. So you might have come across this video because you've had a miscarriage yourself and you're seeking for some answers around that. You may be hoping not to have a miscarriage. You may be pregnant and, wanting to find out about the risk factors to do with miscarriage. Or you may just be curious about what a miscarriage actually is. It's not something that's very widely spoken about, so we tend to not really understand it on a wide scale. It isn't widely acknowledged, I think it might be because there's a lot of medical, unknown. Science hasn't really been able to prove definitively what causes miscarriage. And I think because of that, because there's so many unknowns, there seems to be a lot of silence around the issue. It's not widely talked about. Women who experience miscarriage often, don't really have a lot of answers or a lot of support. It's also a very emotional topic, and a lot of feelings of shame and fear and all sorts of guilt, all sorts of emotions come up around this issue, which can be very hard to talk about. So I think, having no real answers coupled with a very emotionally fueled topic can, make it pretty hard for people to move on, people who've experienced miscarriage. I kind of feel that humans have an innate sort of desire to want to understand why things happen. We sort of look for causes of things that happen in our life, even if we don't really know where to look or how to start, or we often want to know why, and often that's very difficult to actually find satisfactory answers. We don't know where to look, we don't know where to start. We're therefore kind of led to rely on others for that information, and sometimes that's not very satisfactory. And we're often sort of told things which are pretty confusing, or they don't really alleviate our sense of doubt or wondering, and basically can just lead to sort of more confusion or more questions. I suppose I speak from experience in a way because I had a miscarriage myself in 2013. And I will go into more detail about that in a separate video, sort of the specific details of my personal experience of miscarriage. But I did find that, as I researched online and spoke to medical professionals as I was going through the miscarriage, I was presented, with more questions than I actually received answers. For example, this wasn't what I was told, but it's been documented that 50% of miscarriages are due to genetic abnormalities in the fetus. So, I read this and I think, well, babies are being conceived and born left, right and centre, every moment of the day. So it's obviously possible to have a healthy, conception and pregnancy for a lot of people. Why did this couple have a genetically deformed fetus and not this couple? I was fit and healthy, like why did I have a miscarriage and that person over there didn't? It's a perfectly designed reproductive system and process. So my question was, well, why does it fail sometimes? So the kind of answers that are often given just pose questions in and of themselves. They're not actually definitive answers. They're not the root cause of the matter. And I guess that's what I've become more interested in finding, is the cause, you know, the root cause, if you trace it all the way back. So prior, you know, a couple of years prior to having a miscarriage, I'd been introduced to some spiritual teachings that go by the name of Divine Truth. And I suppose what I'd learnt, even intellectually up until that point, helped me to conceptualize my experience with miscarriage. It helped me to understand what and why things played out the way that they did, and I'm still coming to understand it. I don't claim to have a full knowledge or understanding of everything involved, but these teachings definitely have helped me to come to terms and to actually ask the right questions of myself. So maybe I'll just run through a few of the principles that seem to be directly related to this topic and things that have helped me. So first of all, you know, as humans, we look at our physical body and we think that that's pretty much all that there is. But what I've learned through these teachings is that we're not only a physical body, we're actually a soul. And the soul houses our emotions, our intentions, our feelings, our beliefs, our aspirations, our personality, our memories, you know, both the really positive, beautiful qualities of us, and also the, you know, the fears and the false beliefs and the, you know, the negative intentions, you know, everything that kind of makes up the essence of who we are at this very point in time is housed within the soul, which is our true nature. And the physical body and the energetic or spirit body are extensions of the soul, so that the mechanisms by which the soul experiences life and you know, on a daily basis, being in the world. And the soul is emotional in nature. So that brings me to the second point, which is that this concept of emotion, like emotion is energy in motion, emotion. You can sort of think of it that way. And energy is meant to flow. So emotions are supposed to flow. They're not meant to be suppressed and blocked and bottled up. And I think we'll all be testament to the fact that, you know, as children, we weren't allowed to feel quite often. You know, an emotion might come up for us. We might start feeling angry or sad or afraid, and often our environment, what's happening in the environment, the parents, the teachers, really try and suppress and shut down that experience in the child. And because the energy in motion is not allowed to just run its course and pass through, it gets blocked and gets stuck inside the energetic body or the spirit body of the child. You know, we've all experienced this to some extent. And so when we're younger, it's the environment that imposes this upon us, and then as we grow older, because we've learnt to do it, and we live in a world which doesn't really like people to express emotions very readily, we now impose that sort of system and structure and suppression on ourselves. So basically we become adults who are just bundled up balls of emotion and feeling that hasn't been released and processed and felt as it was supposed to be. And this, you know, affects everything we do, say, think, act, you know, more than I'm aware of. It affects us in a large way. Yes, so following from that, there's a principle that these denied emotions, which are, you know, suppressed and bottled up and, you know, still present within us, actually cause affect and cause harm to our body. So in systems of Chinese medicine and other sort of energetic therapies and modalities, this has been quite widely studied. Like the actual correlations between certain types of emotions have been connected to certain organs in the physical body, and you know, Chinese medicine works largely with the energetic body, and where there's blocks in this, you'll see blocks in the physical body or illness in the physical body. So one example is Anger has been connected quite strongly to problems in the liver. Grief has been associated with problems in the lungs, and then we've also got in our gut kind of area, like our lower gut is connected to self-worth issues. So if we've had our self-worth harmed in any way, often that manifests as problems of one type or another in that area of the body. So this has been documented, and basically the like what's happening in the spirit and physical body, the energy and physical body directly correlates with what we're holding on to in our soul. Remember, I mentioned earlier the soul has all of our emotions, so all of our anger, all of our fear, all of our frustrations, all of our loving kindness, you know, as well. It's all housed within our soul. So our soul fuels this effect upon our body. So the next sort of point on that is that if we can see now in a roundabout way that our energy, blocked energy and emotions actually affect our physical body, then it doesn't only affect our physical body, they actually affect our environment as well. So I can give you a few examples of this just to sort of make that a little clearer. So say you walk into a room, often you can feel, you know, when someone's really angry and they're not sort of dealing with that anger. You can feel when someone's, you know, you can feel the emotion that's going on for that person or that they may be not aware of. Another way, another demonstration of feeling our affecting our environment is there's been a lot of studies done about plants responding to emotional projections from people. So you can project feelings of love and kindness at one plant and hatred and rage at another plant. Keep everything else the same, and the one that experiences the projections of hatred and rage will actually wither up and die. And this has been actually documented scientifically. So that's very interesting. And, you know, I guess we've all had the experience of a child in our environment who, you know, we may be going through some emotional stuff and the child might not be aware of what that is, but they seem to know exactly the emotional buttons to push to trigger the adult. That's how it feels anyway, and we often want to blame them for that. But the point that I'm making is that these children are feeling what's going on for the adults in the environment. They're responding to it, even if they don't know how or why. So I guess where I'm going with this final point is that, you know, we are affecting the environment. The stuff that we're not aware of, the stuff we're bottling up, the stuff we want to be in denial of is affecting our environment in, you know, a number of ways. So the question that this raises for me is how is this affecting our unborn children? This hasn't been studied, you know, we don't have the right tools to study how our emotions, our emotional energy is actually impacting upon, you know, a child that's still in the womb. But I think it's a pretty important sort of question to ask. So I know this is a lot to take in, and you might be wondering where am I going with all of this. And I suppose what I've come up with after, you know, personal exploration on the topic and also some theoretical understanding that I have, is I've kind of devised a hypothesis. And my hypothesis is that my miscarriage was caused by a combination of unhealed, painful feelings and beliefs that I have inside of me. Feelings that I've held on to for a long time, probably since childhood. And these feelings have affected my unborn child through a mechanism that I don't fully understand yet, but that I do think is worthy of further exploration. So I know that this is, you know, pretty confronting, and I'd urge you to maybe listen to the other video that I've made about my personal experience of miscarriage and the specific emotions that I experienced. I think that might just help put it into a bit of context, the stuff that I've been talking about in this video. I just wanted to give a brief sort of overview of why I'm doing this in this video. And yeah, just to recap, so the purpose of this website is I'm presenting some snapshots of the current research that's available, some of the literature you can have a look through of what scientists are sort of currently studying about the cause of miscarriage. It's a place that I really love to share some helpful information for anyone who's seeking to know, anyone seeking other answers, who aren't satisfied with what's already available. I hope that you find something of use on this website. The information about the nature of the soul and emotions and how they affect our unborn children, how they affect us, and what we can do about it. And I'd also like this to be a place where I can gather some more data, so I can actually conduct my own sort of scientific experiment about the causes of miscarriage, and this is going to involve public participation. So to find out more about that, head on over to the research tab, and thank you very much for listening. Okay, bye.